Yeah, grand.
Welcome back. For those of you who have watched the podcast before, if you're new here, welcome. This is Jack. I'm here with my friend Eoghan, and this podcast was previously called Outspoken. I've decided against that name now. I'm thinking of another one, but I'll think of something that's better crack than that. I think Outspoken's a bit, I remember when I thought of the name originally, or initially, thought it was a good name, but then I did some research online. There's a lot of podcasts called Outspoken, so I'll be sure to I'll be sure to come up with something a little bit better than that. Anyway, before I make this guy piss his pants, my guest here is Eoghan McGarvey. Eoghan, I know from an organisation called European Youth Parliament, which I used to be a part of. It's an international political youth organisation that operates across Europe. But Eoghan is also in the same university that I used to be in. I was in Trinity College in Dublin. Eoghan is now on his Erasmus year. He's out in Murcia in Spain. And listen, Eoghan, welcome. I mean, it's taken us a few goes to get to this point. We've had to restart this podcast a few times because when myself and Eoghan are around each other, we always find some way to laugh uncontrollably. And I think that's something that's positive, especially in times like this.
There tends to be a bit of messing. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Eoghan keeps me young. Eoghan's he's 2 years below me. But listen, thanks so much for being on. Give us an insight. Give us an insight into you and what you're at right now.
No, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks, Jack, for giving me the opportunity. I'm 21 years of age. Like Jack says, we met each other through European Youth Parliament Ireland, obviously. So that probably gives you a bit of an insight into some of my background in terms of I'm very interested in current affairs and politics and the like. And I'm currently in my third year of university at Trinity College. I'm studying business studies and Spanish. So hence why I'm here in Murcia on my Erasmus exchange program. And outside of that, obviously, I have a huge interest, which Jack kind of shares as well, in health and fitness as well. So that's some of my background that's kind of stemmed from my background in the GAA here in Ireland, which is of course our national sports. So that's how I got involved in that in the first place. So obviously you can probably tell that me and Jack have a lot of common interests, and that's where our friendship kind of stems from, as well as probably a mutual sense of immaturity as well to a large degree. But
it's interesting. I think immaturity and maturity. I think it's good to be mature in some ways, but I think it's good to be immature in other ways. Like I would consider myself mature when necessary, but then as I said, it's good to let loose once in a while and just laugh about stupid stuff. As Eoghan said, we met in the European Youth Parliament. Eoghan, do you remember what sparked our friendship, I guess, in Leinster's 2017?
What did? I think it was something to do with macros or something. It was Rob Gibson, the Irish influencer. Yeah.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that was sort of the craze in Ireland at the time. Like I think to a large degree the kind of fitness industry almost just kind of died down a little bit. I don't know whether you got the same, but certainly when I was in fifth year, that was that year 2017. I was 17, and you would have been what, 19 or 20. That was kind of all the craze. But I think it's kind of to a certain degree, I think it's kind of died a little bit of a death. But yeah, I don't know whether you agree with that, but I always thought that not the fitness in general has died a death, but the kind of influencer kind of thing is kind of has kind of been nullified to a certain degree, I thought, in the last year or two.
Yeah, look, you're definitely more involved in health and fitness than I am in terms of, if you compare both our physiques right now, I'd say you'd notice a pretty big difference. I don't know, maybe that's something to do with the pandemic. I left Instagram, as you know, last September, so I'm not as up to date with a lot of these fitness influencers. As well on YouTube, I don't subscribe to them anymore. I think their content's very good, but I think, yeah, fitness is always going to be here. I mean, I'm here in Playa Carmen. There's a lot of people here who are in serious shape.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it's linked as well to the lifestyle. So if you're at home in Ireland now or anywhere that's locked up around the world, obviously a lot of people are trying to keep fit, but the motivation to stay in shape is definitely much more prevalent in an area like this where there's no restrictions, there's nightlife, and there's still a social scene here. It's pretty much normality, and you've got people from different countries everywhere. And there's people running down the street here, just like every second guy you see here is topless, running down the street, getting his cardio in. So there's a big, I think, obviously proximity is power. Like the people who you're surrounded by, whether you know them personally or not, that's going to influence your behavior. So out here, like the standard of fitness and the level of aesthetics are serious. And obviously there's a fitness scene in Ireland, but it's just not as, if the country is locked down, there's not as much of an incentive to stay in shape, I don't think.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, I mean, lockdown has been obviously, particularly in Ireland, to a large degree. I mean, I left in January of this year to come to Spain, but obviously the country was in sort of what was known as a level 5 or a full lockdown at that time, and it had a big impact on people and their sort of motivation, not just to get fitness done, but I think to a large degree. I mean, I can speak to this in university, like with classes online and everything else. I mean, Zoom and the internet in general can bring lots of benefits, but I think in some ways it's also a curse, particularly in terms of online, where in fairness, it was moved to online as sort of a necessity in Ireland for a while. But certainly I think as a university student, personally speaking, I think if there's a large move toward online in the coming years, it's going to really damage the university scene in general, because my personal opinion on it is there's a lot more to university than just the academic side of it. In fact, I'd suggest that the academic side is the least of it nowadays, considering the amount of information that we have pretty much at our fingertips. So I think I mean, for me anyway, online has kind of killed a lot of the impetus for stuff like fitness and university in general.
Okay, yeah, I completely agree with you. And what's it like over there in Spain now, like compared to Ireland? How are things over there with the virus and just the lifestyle in general?
I mean, there's a lot less of how I'd describe an obsession with the virus here in Spain as there is in Ireland. Like masks are still mandatory everywhere in terms of out on the street and obviously on public transport and in the supermarkets and stuff, but things have largely been opened here for quite a while. It varies region to region in Spain, of course. But gyms have been open since I've arrived, barbers have been opened, non-essential retail has been opened, bars and restaurants and that have been opened for quite a while now as well. So yeah, I mean, in terms of Ireland, in terms of openness, I mean, it's well ahead of Ireland in terms of that, but I think that's out of necessity to a broad degree as well, because unemployment and stuff has been a major problem in Spain to a large degree in a lot of the regions for a long time prior to the pandemic. So I think it has been out of necessity to a large degree here. But certainly, yeah, I mean, it's for me, it's been really welcome to be here. Simply because even university as well, we do have classes online in university as well. So there's that element of kind of getting your life back to some degree, and some degree of normality. And I find motivation for university is a lot bigger when you're in class. And yeah, have that sense of interaction that I don't think you can get from stuff like Zoom, personally speaking.
Okay, on in terms of actually being in class, are there any restrictions? Like, are you sitting 2 meters away from people, or is it normal? Like, you're all wearing masks, or no?
Yeah, we're all wearing masks, and in terms of I mean, there's social like 1 meter between people, so class sizes are kind of reduced. Still, it's a world away in terms of being in front of a teacher, as opposed to Zoom. Like, I personally think it's a world away. But yeah, I mean, personally speaking, if that was what was required, I think a lot of university students would take it, just to be back in a university setting and back in a class setting. because I think online's just been the ruin of a lot of people, in certainly a lot of my friends. It's been the ruin of them in terms of not having that social aspect to it. Because I think to a large degree, personally speaking anyway, I've found college a lot of the time to be, and I think you mentioned this in your last podcast as well, it can be a time that you kind of have personal growth and development in terms of knowing what's for you and what's not, rather than just the academic side of it. And I think online college to a large degree has emphasized the academic aspect of it and has completely forgotten about the sort of personal development that a lot of people can go through. Like I think you were mentioning, you spent a lot of the time in the library watching YouTube videos or whatever, rather than doing your essays or whatever. So I think that's something that online is kind of taken away, and I think that's a real shame.
No, for sure. But like social skills are key, especially interpersonal interaction, like whatever about skills, people need to be around other people physically. Like that's why I'm so grateful being out here, that there's no restrictions in terms of social distancing, or like there's pretty much no restrictions out here at all. So you're getting the basic human requirement of human to human interaction face to face, as opposed to just being isolated and on a screen, which is, I believe, how it's been in many parts of the world for months on end. But I want to touch on what you said earlier, that the academic side of college is probably the least important part. I'm not sure if you know Brad Lee. He's an influencer. He's not like an Instagram influencer, but he's like a CEO of a company called Lightspeed. He posts regularly on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Okay, no, I've never heard of him now, but I'm not.
I remember this is back a few months ago. He made a post about college, and he was interviewing a guy, and he said that, okay, he's asked him like, okay, what did you study? I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was in engineering or something. It's like, okay, well, are you an engineer? And he's like, no. And then it's like, okay, so the entire 4 years was a waste of time. And then he was like, no, because of the connections that he made during college and the socializing that he did during college. Now, if I could go back, I would probably focus more on that than I did. I mean, to be honest, I'd probably pick a different college than Trinity.
Obvious reasons,
no, for sure, I would have picked a different college than Trinity. I don't think it suited me whatsoever. But yeah, no, that social aspect, I would much rather, in terms of if I was a recruiter hiring somebody, I would much rather someone who has got developed social skills and has collaborated and has a sense of who they are and is able to act like a normal human being, than someone who is incredibly book smart but they're socially inept.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think obviously it depends, like in terms of what an employer would be looking for, in the sense that it very much kind of ties in with the role that's specified and stuff. I mean, different people suit different jobs. So in terms of, like, you could look for a book smart person in terms of certain jobs, of course, and I think they can add value in anything. But I think in general, the vast majority of jobs nowadays have a lot more to do with emotional intelligence. So they are more to do with people interacting with one another and team building and stuff like that. So I think in terms of, I'd say you would agree with this. I think most people would tend to look more at what people are doing outside of college in terms of their hobbies and interests, rather than what they're actually at in college. That's certainly what I'd look at, because I think it's amazing. And I don't want to go down the road of bashing a lot of people my age and people in university in general, but I always just found it funny how many people you meet nowadays and they have no sort of hobbies and interests outside of university, or they don't seem to have them at all. It's kind of everything's geared toward their career, and everything's geared toward spending 7-8 hours a day studying and nothing else really. So for me personally, if I was an employer, I'd be much more impressed by someone who can come and say that they're interested in this sport or this music or this arts, drama, whatever, as long as they have something in their life that they're passionate about and that they can talk about for an end. That would be impressive to me than someone coming to me saying that they have a first degree from Trinity and whatever, But like I say, it really depends on the job description and what the employer is looking for.
Yeah, I think you made a good point there, but it depends on the job. I suppose I'm coming from a perspective of someone who's involved in sales. Like obviously, I'm involved in real estate sales over here, so from that perspective, I will be looking for someone who's got people skills as opposed to just is able to log errors in the library. But then if you're looking at jobs like coding, for example, I mean, people skills are not an absolute necessity
Yeah.
there. So yeah,
Yeah, of course.
you made a good distinction there. But yeah, I've told you this before. You're probably gonna laugh here. Someone mentioned to me about professional service firms and how they recruit, and they don't look for a specific degree, and it's often the case where they'll hire somebody with a lower degree grade but has demonstrated ability in extracurricular areas. And I don't even like that term extracurricular, because when I hear extracurricular, that's implying that your academic curriculum is the main focus and is the most important thing. Yeah. Whereas I agree with you, I think it's the least important thing. So I don't think it should be extracurricular. It just should be classes, life interests or events or projects. So it's often the case where it's people who've done an interesting thing outside of the academic side of college or outside of college in general, but have a lower grade. They're the ones who are going to get hired, as opposed to somebody who has excellent academics but very little else. In this case, it was like someone had got a 2-2, but then they had gone to Thailand, they'd gone to Costa Rica.
There was a particular professional service firm that was mentioned as well. We won't go into it.
Exactly. These guys who got a 2-2, but they had been to Thailand, and they were getting hired over the people who had firsts. So that's something to keep in perspective. I think anyway, because I'd like you to share this podcast at the end. And obviously you're going to reach a different audience than myself. You're still in college, so anybody who's in college now and who's listening to this, it is important to consider who you are as an overall person, not just you as a student. Because obviously, grades are important, especially if you're going for a graduate position somewhere. Yes, your grades are going to be important, but don't neglect the other aspects of your life either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think to be fair, like we kind of get drilled into it, particularly in Ireland, as we're kids. Like you thought that, the Leaving Cert's the be all and end all from the time you're 16 to you're 18, and then obviously it's getting into a good university, and then it's getting into a good graduate program. You're taught that those are the kind of steps that you're supposed to make as time goes on, and I think that's something that the education system really needs to look at. I mean, I think in general the schools do a pretty good job. Depends on the school, obviously, but some schools do a good job in terms of encouraging people to get involved in stuff outside of school as well, like in music or sport or politics or whatever your interest may be. But I do think there needs to be a change in attitude toward it, in the sense that everyone's taught that the Leaving Cert, say from 16 to 18, which is the matriculation exams here at the university, everyone's taught that that's your be all and end all, and everything that you do outside of it, like you say, is extracurricular, like implying that the Leaving Cert's the main thing. But there do needs to be a culture shift, in the sense that it does need to be taught that your hobbies and interests generally should be your main thing, and the academic side of things should be lower. And that's why I often thought that people who do get slightly less points in the Leaving Cert, don't get 500 plus, are often the most intelligent, because often they can see through it and they don't spend their whole 60 or when they're 18 and it's one of their best years of their life stuck in a book, like I did, and presumably you did, considering the Leaving Cert points that you did get. So I often think it's the most intelligent people that can kind of see through that system early on, whereas for a lot of the rest of us it takes 3 or 4 years, even longer, after the Leaving Cert to work that out for ourselves. So yeah, it's like I say, I think there does need to be a culture shift in Ireland to a large degree.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned that I used to watch a lot of YouTube, and that is true. When I was in college, instead of doing what I should have been doing, I was
I noticed that in the library. Yeah,
I was researching in the Berkeley, I was actually looking up stuff like why college is a waste of time, why college is bullshit, just trying to validate the opinion that I had at the time, and an opinion that I largely have to this day as well. But I remember
Yeah.
seeing a particular video that said the A students work for the B students, the C students run the businesses, and the D students dedicate to buildings, which means that
Right.
the D students are the ones doing the real estate. And I told you this before. Look, I came out with a 2-1. The only reason I came out with a 2-1 is because it was based on the final 2 years of my university. If you calculate my university grade for first year, second year, third year, and fourth year, so you get the average of each year. I'm not going to tell you the individual results for first and second year, but if you do the average for each year and divide it by 4, my average degree grade was 49.5%.
Yeah.
Which is it's flirting with that 2-2 third border.
I do remember you telling me in detail some of your first and second year exam stories. Like,
Yeah.
I think one of your modules involved handing in some sort of essay or something, and you didn't hand it in. And I remember you asking you at the time, like, Jack, why didn't you just hand in the essay? And you're just like, I didn't want. I was like, that probably summed up Jack's time at Trinity, all right.
Yeah, no, I did make
I
a shift in third year and fourth year for sure. But I realized, I mean, the actual amount of effort required. Now, I did a law degree, it was humanities. And if I was in science or engineering, it would have been a totally different story. Like, I don't think I would have, I definitely wouldn't have made it past. Well, I'm not interested in those areas, first of all, but the amount of energy that those type of courses require and commitment and time is just a different universe to humanities. With law, you can just not go to class at all, get the readings, and come out with a 2-1. In science, in engineering, they're like full-time jobs. They're 30 hours, 35 hours a week, mandatory attendance. So you have to wonder. And then, but obviously, the amount of credits you get for the degree is the same. I mean, the workload on paper is meant to be the same. But you have to question, like, what's the value of a humanities degree versus a more practical degree? Because I think they're worlds apart. Obviously I haven't done science, but knowing from people who have done those type of degrees, where it is literally like a job, versus humanities where it's like you can do whatever the fuck you want. So I think there should be, like, my opinion for college essentially is, if it's a humanities degree, you shouldn't be there unless you deem it the best possible way for you to get to the career you want. And I think oftentimes it isn't. I mean, for humanities, I'd be really, really critical if you should go to college for that. Whereas obviously for engineering, you're going to need to be qualified correctly. If you're doing medicine, of course, you're going to need to go to college. So yeah, my opinion, I covered this in the previous podcast, but I think my opinion of college used to be very black and white, like all college is bullshit. But I've matured that view since, and it's not. It depends on the person, and it depends on the type of degree as well.
Yeah, I think in fairness to the humanities style, like, there are people that are genuinely interested in fields like law and history or philosophy. The proportion of students that I think actually genuinely are small, but there are people that do all the readings, that genuinely have a love for the subject. Of course, I think they should be in.
It's great for them.
But like I say, yeah. Well, like I say, I think we're in agreement on that. Like, if you do find yourself in not just arts, if you're in STEM and you genuinely hate your course and it's causing you to hate your life, then it's not like no college course, no job is worth that hassle. Like, I'm sure you've probably watched it because you've watched every episode of YouTube, from but you're a YouTube kind of guy. But I mean, I was watching a typical day in the investment banker at a certain big investment bank, and like the working hours that those guys generally do, like, I mean, it's up to 16, 17 hours, 16, 17-hour days, just to, at the smallest level of the company. And like, it really does make you question, like, I'm fully behind the merits of hard work and like sacrifice to one degree. But I mean, if anything is to the detriment of your physical and mental health, which something like that would be, even if not a detriment to your mentally, definitely towards your physical health, you kind of have to sit back and question whether that's worth it. Now, I'm not suggesting any STEM degree is causing physical health damage in terms of a 35 to 40-hour work week. Like, that's nothing. But certainly if it's causing you to be unhappy in any way and thinking, God, I have to do this again today, which a lot of people do going into college, then it's time to call it quits, no matter what your career prospects after it are.
And I think those courses are like, it's like 34 to 40 hours, like contact hours. So that's them in lectures or in practicals, plus all of the additional coursework and reading that they have to do. So I imagine that might even be double.
Yeah.
So it might be close to 8 hours a week. I'm not sure. But like, those people are doing serious work, no doubt.
Yeah. No, of course, yeah. I mean, it's crazy amount, but like, from my experience, most people that are doing STEM have a genuine love for it, as opposed to like they just have something about them. I have it, and obviously you don't have it as well. But a lot of them have a passion for maths or for whatever field of science that they're doing, and they love doing it. So, like I say, if you find something in your life that you can spend 7-8 hours a day on, and you don't even notice the time passing by, well, then you're kind of in the money, aren't you? I mean, that's the dream job for everyone, is to find something that you don't even realize you're working at it, that kind of way.
That's the key. That's the key for sure. You mentioned there briefly about obviously the guys who are just almost killing themselves at those analyst positions where it's like 16, 17-hour days, like racking up 100 hours a week, and that it's taking a toll on their physical health. Do you find that because you're in the gym and you're into health and nutrition, does that have a noticeable positive effect on your performance in life and in studying?
I think 100%. I think just on a primitive basis, I mean, I think we're obviously designed to be moving to a large degree, and we're designed to be putting certain types of foods into our bodies and not others. So that involves cutting, like processed foods and stuff like that out. Like, I'm not advocating that people, and I just like to emphasize, I don't have a nutrition background. I'm just going off my own personal experience. But like, I think if fundamentally, if you're fueling your body all day with stuff that your body's not supposed to be eating, how do you expect to look and feel and in general function at 100%? Like, your body's just not going to do it. It's like a car. If you put the wrong fuel into it, it's going to break down. So I think nutrition definitely is the main thing in terms of not just your physique. Like, fundamentally, who cares about that? Like you said, people's thoughts on fitness evolves over time, and certainly mine have as well. I mean, you said, like, everyone out there in Mexico, like, every second guy looks shredded, or he looks ripped. Like, yeah, you look at him and you say, yeah, he looks great, but like, fundamentally, you don't really care. Like, who cares? But fundamentally, it just comes down to like how a certain activity makes you feel. And I certainly think that nutrition, number one, but everything that goes alongside the lifestyle as well: nutrition, your exercise, your sleep, and your water. They're the 4 or 5 things that you need, and those things can really unlock basically being better in everything else that you do as well. You find that your focus, your determination, your energy, everything goes up. I just can't emphasize that enough. And it's hard. That's why I said the video was shocking for me personally, because I don't understand how a human being can put that level of work in, that level of focus in, without having 8-9 hours sleep, and putting junk food into their body, which he said he did, and not getting the physical exercise. I mean, the mind boggles. But like, I think to a large degree that's become a standard lifestyle, particularly in the West here. Everything's become centered around work, and people have just forgotten about the sort of basics. So that's what I say. Yeah, I mean, to answer your question in short, yeah, 100%. I mean, it affects everything.
And what do you think is the breakdown in terms of, so sleep, diet, exercise? If you've got someone who wants to achieve a really high quality physique, which of those is the most important? Like, what's the rank of importance in those three areas?
Well, your nutrition obviously is your main one. Like, so fundamentally, if you want to lose weight, you go into a caloric deficit. If you want to gain weight, you add calories and eat more. So your nutrition's your main thing. And I think it gets overstated in fitness in terms of there's this kind of if it fits your macros approach, whereby you know, like, as long as you're hitting a certain amount of protein a day, carbs a day, you're good. Like, and that to one degree is true. Like, if you do hit your protein goals and your carbohydrates goals over a sustained period of time, you will make progress with your physique. But I personally, again, saying that I have no background in nutrition, but I would anecdotally, from my own experience, advocate putting real food into your body. So a lot of people make the mistake of putting mass gainers in, you know, like these like powder forms where you can get 600, 700 calories in at a time, and think that, oh, great, I'm hitting my calories or I'm hitting my macros and this is great. But fundamentally, it's not what your body's supposed to be consuming. So I would emphasize that eating proper foods and whole foods and non-processed foods to the greatest degree is going to help you achieve whatever you want to achieve, be it better physical health, better mental health, whatever. It's going to help you hit that a lot more quickly. I think, though, the one thing that gets really understated as opposed to the other like four elements of sleep, not too many people talk about sleep, but sleep is just key. Like I say, not just in terms of your physical, but your mental health and how you're going to function in university or work or whatever. Personally, I don't get how anyone gets under 7-8 hours sleep and can function. I don't understand it. Personally speaking, I sleep at least 8 hours. If not, I try to get 9 or 10. Now people say that that's not, they can't do that for work or whatever. I'm just saying that as a university student, we have a reputation for sleeping too much. But I do think it's important, and not too many people talk about the sort of benefits of sleep and the way that helps you in terms of your thing. But yeah, to answer your question anyway, succinctly, nutrition is your number one, and then exercise is something that you have to do, obviously, but you know, it's what you do outside the gym, and that's kind of more important than what you do inside of it, to a large degree. So yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard that stat rolling around. Well, it's not a stat; it's a saying where it's like, oh, it's 80% diet,
Yeah,
and 20% in the gym.
yeah.
I mean, I find it hard to believe that it's that much sway to one side. I would assume it's more like 50-50.
Yeah.
Maybe like 33, because the sleep is obviously very important as well.
Yeah. Well, like sleep, and like there are other factors like limiting stuff like alcohol and stuff like that as well. Because I think a lot of people make the mistake of, you know, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, hitting the gym hard and eating their protein bars at lunch or whatever, and then at the weekend just going ham.
Then they're doing guest list of Crystal on Fridays.
Yeah, exactly. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. Like, everything's about balance, and people need to go out and socialize and drink alcohol, and that's great. I do it myself. But it's just about making sure that you're kind of not doing that all the time if fitness is something that you want to really get the most out of. Because it's like anything else. What you put into it's what you get out of it. So if you're putting nothing into it, if you're just acting like everyone else, well, you're gonna be the same as everyone else in that sense. You know, that kind of way. So people need to, there are certain factors, definitely anything like that stat 80-20 probably isn't true, but you know, like, I don't know, but I think it's just to emphasize to people that training isn't the be all and end all. Because I think a lot of particularly young people think they're going to go into the gym and do 3 sets of 10 on bench press or bicep curls and think they're going to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and like, it just kind of doesn't work like that. It does kind of take years to progress and believe me, like, you know, like in terms of frustration, like you're going to have periods where there's going to be no progress in that, and that's just natural. So like, people just need to kind of get out of the mentality that things are going to happen overnight for you, because they're not. Like, it's going to take years years, and it's just something like I say though, I do genuinely believe it's another one of those things that you just genuinely have to love it. Like I think you talked, I think it was your podcast that maybe I don't know what it was, but it was talking about intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. So like your intrinsic means obviously you're you do it for the love of it, you do it for what people would deem the proper reasons, and then extrinsic is what other people think of you, your money, anything else, status. So I think fundamentally fitness in general as a lifestyle is one of those things that you kind of have to have an intrinsic sort of desire for rather than an extrinsic. So like be motivated to do for yourself rather than for like anything else, like girls or money or anything like that, but yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I think that's probably a reason why people fall off the gym. Like the amount of times I've started the gym and fallen off. I'm back in the gym now.
Yeah.
It's just the way I phrase that. It's like I've got an addiction or something. It's like someone's like, oh man, I went back to that drug. But I'm clean now.
I hope that's a warm-up set, man.
Oh man.
Well, like I mean,
people get hung
up on the gym as well as like the only form of exercise, but like anything's good, like if you find that swimming is your one that you love, running,
aesthetics,
whatever you want. The gym isn't the only thing that's going to like make you feel better and function better generally. Any sort of exercise. I think a lot of people talk about it. I'm not sure whether you've followed David Goggins.
Yeah,
former Navy SEAL.
I did a podcast earlier today, and we were talking about Goggins in a bit of detail. To be honest,
but he talks a lot about like the concept of like physical struggle and how that's something that people need in their lives. So I think that he kind of advocates this, like it's not just like gym and running and that people can do. It's just anything that challenges yourself to like overcome a bit of adversity. Like, and it's not going to David Goggins' extent, like you have to run like 200 miles or something, like do something crazy like that. It's not that. Just anything like that. You set a small goal for yourself. Like I'm going to go for an hour's walk or whatever level you're at, and just set that goal for yourself. And like you feel a lot better after accomplishing it. And it's probably what's missing out of a lot of people's lives at the moment as well, I think. And lockdown certainly didn't help that. I mean, telling people to stay indoors and not get fresh air and exercise when you're trying to beat a pandemic and get people's immune systems up is a bit crazy, but that's neither here nor there. Big Max got to 1 degree and got that right, or has it right.
Wait, what'd you say?
But yeah, I mean, I think to 1 degree or another, that's one of the aspects that Ireland got wrong during the pandemic. Not that I don't think that the restrictions were necessary, like they were at certain points. But just they should have been emphasizing to people as well as the masks or whatever else, that stuff like exercise and eating proper foods and getting good sleep is key to building your immune system and stuff like that as well. Which I just feel that public health officials just generally didn't do. Yeah, absolutely.
Very good, man. I really like that point about intrinsic and extrinsic because I feel like without that intrinsic, you're just going to fall off. But I think there's a lot of people who have intrinsic and extrinsic.
No, yeah, of course, yeah.
I think that's probably the most common because, like, look, people are lifting to look good, like they want to look good for other people. But like I was thinking about physical exercise recently, and like there's literally no downside to it because you're going to look great aesthetically. It's going to improve your fitness. It's improving your health, and it also builds resilience. And you are better able to endure hardship, obviously in the gym. You're much more of a use when it comes to physical pursuits. If anything goes wrong, say you're hanging off the edge of a cliff, if you can't do a pull-up, man, you're fucked there. But it also builds, I think, a lot of mental strength as well. I think, and I know you touched on David Goggins. There's also a guy, Greg Plitt. I don't know if you heard of him.
No, I haven't heard of him.
He's incredible, man. He's actually he's dead now. He died a few years ago, but no one has been on more fitness magazine covers than him. And his whole thing, he's similar to David Goggins, man, except he's a complete gym junkie. But his whole thing was get into the gym early in the morning. I prefer going in the evening myself, but he says get in early in the morning, and then that's the first part of your day is a tick. The hardest part
Yeah.
of your day is over with. And then everything else that comes along is easy. But like whatever time you're going to the gym at, if you're in there consistently and you're putting yourself through physical struggle, everything else in life becomes, it's not that it becomes easier, but you get better able to deal with it. Like I found any time when
Yeah.
I've been in the gym for a period, I've just been better outside of the gym at handling different situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, of course, like, and it builds up that sense of confidence as well, in terms of not just in your work, but like in your social interactions as well.
Yeah.
I think if you have that sense that you've accomplished something or whatever, it kind of does give you that little bit of more impetus to be able to talk to people and to have that kind of outcome, particularly people that are sort of like, I've seen a lot of people that like it's really helped, like in terms of they might be a bit introverted or whatever by nature, and it might not just be the gym, it could be anything like running or swimming that they've taken up, and suddenly they're just that little bit more out of their shell, and they're that little bit more able to sort of communicate with people and have that little bit more confidence. And that's what it's about, man. Like I do think a lot of people, like I say, it's great to have both intrinsic and extrinsic reasons. Like I think a lot of people get into the gym, including myself, to a large degree, but a lot of people would have got into the gym or running or whatever just to look better. But I think then as time goes on, you kind of learn it's about more than that. Obviously, yeah, like you say, you still want to get in there and look good, but then other factors start to come in that you start to realize that it makes you feel better about everything else going on, and makes that little bit better outside of the gym as well. And that can only be a good thing. And like you said, there's no downside to physical exercise. Like I saw, I think it was a post on LinkedIn, but it was just a guy simply saying, you never regret going to the gym, and it's so true. Like any sort of physical exercise or whatever, you never come back from it and say, oh, I wish I didn't do that, that kind of way.
Exactly.
So that's yeah, I mean it's great, and like couldn't recommend it enough to anyone to find that form of exercise, be it hiking, be it running, swimming, gym, whatever, just to find that and to enjoy it and get after it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. I know at the start we talked about fitness influencers, and before the podcast you mentioned to me you wanted to talk about social media. What do you think about fitness influencers in general and the message that they portray to their audience?
I think it depends on the fitness influencers themselves.
I should have added that in.
Yeah, I mean, I
Obviously,
think
you can't apply the blanket statement for the whole industry, but I just want to know what your thoughts are.
No, of course not. I think some of them are great. I think some of them are hugely, like in terms of their all, like not that it's all they want, but they have a big passion for getting people involved in fitness and for getting people physically active and physically healthy, which can only be a good thing. Like the more people you reach with the message that this thing in your life can really augment everything else that's going on in your life, the more people that you can reach with that message, the better. But I think there are some that are kind of motivated for the wrong reasons, in terms of they're looking to promote a brand, something like that, that's going to get them paid, which is fine. And some of the brands that they promote probably are great. It's all good. And they're a key part of commerce in general now. I mean, like, Jesus, I think about like my marketing modules in university, for example, they're all centered nowadays around social media and influencers. Like whereas 20 years ago, maybe it was celebrity endorsements. And now people are focused on these micro influencers with 25, 30,000 followers, whatever it may be. So some of them are just motivated just solely for that, and they'll do anything to sell a product to someone. Particularly what makes me feel uncomfortable isn't in the area of clothes, it's in the area of supplements. I think selling certain brands or supplements that have no real benefit to the person that's looking to improve themselves, and just selling it for like I say, for no other reason than lining your own pockets isn't great. I think some of them promote blandly the wrong message in terms of their lifestyles and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it very much depends on them. But
Well, give me an example. Like give me an example of a lifestyle. You don't have to name any names, but like a lifestyle portrayal that you don't agree with.
Well, I think some of them, and it might become obvious about who I'm talking about now, but some of them went from being purely fitness and enjoying yourself the odd time to just an all-out party and whatever lifestyle. I'm not saying that's bad. Like, people can do what they want. Like, if you want to party all day, that's fine. But the fact that this person is clearly, or these people are clearly portraying themselves as naturals when they're not, and going out and partying all the time, and doing this and that, and portraying it as if that's a natural kind of realistic attainment for a young person to get, is just completely false. Like I say, I won't name names, but it might become apparent given the fact that I said they started off being purely about fitness and then moved into the sort of party realm. But yeah, I think that's the issue. Like I say, I don't have a problem with party lifestyle things. That's great. And obviously people have to evolve their content over time. But I think when it comes down to it, when you're advocating that this supplement or this product that I have to sell you is going to get you your gym goals while I'm also out partying every day and doing this and doing that, it's just completely disingenuous, and it's done for all the wrong reasons. And that's why I say that's the kind of downfall of the fitness influencers, the kind of like I say, just the disingenuousness of, if that's a word, of it sometimes.
Okay. And what about you and your fitness path? Is that something you consider as an element of your career in the future, in addition to what you want to pursue postgraduate?
Yeah, I mean, I do have a passion for fitness. So I mean, it's certainly something that I've considered for a while in terms of maybe getting a PT license or some sort of nutrition course. I actually am more passionate about the nutrition side of it, to be honest, than the exercise side of it. So maybe in the future, if there is scope to get involved more so in diet or nutrition or something like that, that's something I'd definitely be interested in. But in general, I think I'd just like to give that sort of advice to my friends from a personal angle. Like I say, I've emphasized a few times on this podcast that I don't have a nutrition background, and I say that to everyone, but I do enjoy giving that advice and stuff to people I know, and just caveating it with the fact that I'm not qualified to give that information. But yeah, I mean, certainly I think it'll always figure in my life somehow, not just the gym, but any sort of physical exercise. Because I remember during lockdown, when Ireland was closed and the gyms were closed, I was still going out running pretty much every day. Even though it's a completely different activity, it's just the element of clearing your head and like I say, as David Goggins would say, a bit of physical struggle. So like, I think it'll always figure in my life as a kind of a side thing, because it's just a massive hobby of mine, aside from anything else. Like I say, I can sit down here on a podcast and talk about all aspects of it with you for hours, and it's just a huge passion of mine that way. So like I say, it'll definitely always figure in my life somehow. Whether that translates into a like you say, an augmentation to my career at some point, I don't know. But for now, I've no immediate plans though, in that sense. But yeah, I do enjoy giving any sort of feedback or advice or anything like that to people that ask me. So.
Yeah, look, I think there's a gap in the Irish fitness market for someone like, from what I've seen. I haven't seen anyone who's kind of just solely dedicated to conveying purely just fitness and nutrition advice, like as a PT, like coming from a PT perspective, without evolving, as you said, into that. And look, there's nothing wrong with partying whatsoever. But like, if there's someone, I think there is. I mean, the Irish fitness community in terms of social media is not that big.
No, it's quite small. Yeah.
But like, there's always, I think there's massive room for yourself and others to get involved and create a name there, and just bring it back to basics, essentially, as you said earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, for others, I mean, I'm not personally that how would you say it? I'm not personally, like I say, I enjoy giving the advice to my friends and stuff, but I'm not personally a type to put myself out there that much. It's not from a lack of confidence or anything, but it's never something that I've been all that interested in. I prefer to kind of just kind of work with the head down and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I want. And obviously, I do have my own sort of career ambition outside of fitness as well, that I kind of want to kickstart. I know you're kind of gone into conformity, giving out about the conformity in the past few podcasts, but I think definitely.
Well, man, here's the thing: it's not conformity if the reason is individual.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, for me, like I can only speak for myself. I have no problem about going on the sort of the corporate route for me. Like, as long as I have a certain element of a work-life balance, in the sense that I can pursue my other interests and not give up my whole life to work, then I'm absolutely cool with it. Sort of where I draw the line is having to do the 16, 17-hour days. That's probably too far for me, because I think that would encroach too much on other elements of my life, like in terms of what I like to do in my spare time. But yeah, like I say, as long as I still had the scope to enjoy my life in other aspects, like I say, fitness and nature and stuff like that, which I love doing as well, then that would be okay with me personally.
Yeah, but see, like that sounds to me like something that like that's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
Was like you're making your own decision.
Yeah.
Which is
perfect. Yeah. Yeah, I know, but it's just it kind of gets cliched, like, you know yourself.
Oh yeah, of course.
Say,
I'm
going to do the standard thing after college, like where you're going on a graduate program or something, and like people will say, oh, that's you're. But like I say, if I think there are genuinely a lot of people in college that do genuinely have an interest in what they're doing, and I think that's like a good thing as well, you know. Like, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and getting something out of it, well, I think that's always a good thing. Like I say, you're obviously on your path over there and enjoying yourself. So I think that's hugely important. And yeah,
for sure.
You say it yourself, aren't you? I mean, like you feel like you're on your career path, like.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, Mexico is Mexico's a phenomenal place, man. I mean, look, all parts of Mexico were not created equal, and a lot of people brand Mexico as a certain image, but like, you can't. I mean, this place, for example, is incomparable to Mexico City. Mexico City is much different to Tijuana. I mean, the only place I've been to are Tijuana, Mexico City, and then the Riviera Maya here, which is the East Coast Caribbean side of Mexico. And all of them, I was only in Mexico City for a day now, but they're all completely different. You know, and obviously there's many other cities in Mexico as well, and they all have their different nuances. There's like 7 different climates here in Mexico as well, which is insane. We're here in a tropical climate. There's Mediterranean climate in the north. There's desert. There's like all kinds of stuff. So yeah, no, it's awesome being over here in Mexico. Like, this is where I've started my career. I'm not exactly sure how long I'm going to stay here. I mean, definitely for another couple of years. But if opportunity continues to be here, then I'll stay. I mean, in terms of real estate, when I came here, I wasn't aware of the real estate market here. It's absolutely explosive. It's like off the chart ridiculous in Tulum and in Playa del Carmen as well, particularly in Tulum. The real estate development everywhere. So real estate, whether it's real estate sales, real estate investing, real estate development, I think I'll be involved in all 3 over the course of my career pretty heavily. Might get into crypto as well. I'm invested a little bit in crypto. I'm invested a little bit in cryptocurrency now, but it's nothing major at all. But I think it's definitely something I'll get involved in as well. Crypto, real estate. I mean, who knows? They're going to create. I guarantee you, they're going to create some crazy new stuff, new investment vehicles, and like NFTs were actually created a couple of years ago, I think, but came to the fore in terms of their popularity in like February. NFTs, you know, the NFTs where it's like a basketball slam dunk clip, you get exclusive ownership because it's backed by a non-fungible token, and then you sell it for fucking $200,000.
Yeah,
that's a world I want to be a part of, man. So
yeah, I mean, the great thing about what you're doing though as well is how transferable the skills are, though. Like, in terms of your and like, you see yourself in Mexico for the next 2 or 3 years, but I mean, the skills that you're developing in terms of real estate are and in terms of crypto, I suppose, as well, are really like they're really mobile. Like if you decided you wanted to up and leave in the next 2 years and go to the States or come back to Ireland or go to Taiwan, wherever you're going, all of those skills are directly transferable to those places. So you're you're kind of set up that way. Whereas a lot of other career paths, you kind of tie yourself down to one location. So yeah, I mean, what you're doing over there is really good stuff, especially for someone like you who's passionate about traveling with the lads. And that and that kind of thing. So yeah, you're setting yourself up nicely. Do you have much travel plans for the rest of the year now?
Yeah, I've got some travel plans. I'm not going to reveal them here, but I don't know. Well, look, I've got travel plans. Nothing's confirmed yet. It's subject to change. Obviously with the pandemic, stuff can change like that.
Yeah.
So look, I've got plans in mind, but we'll see what happens. Veremos que pasa.
Yeah, that's it.
Owen's fluent in Spanish, and it's just funny because I'm not very good at Spanish at all. I'm useless, pretty much. Very, very, very basic. But it's just funny when I speak Spanish and when Owen speaks Spanish as well, because it's in a Dublin accent. And it's like, here, hola.
Yeah, I mean, I remember a particular incident outside. Where was it? Was it Charlie's on Georgia Street with two girls? Remember, and I was speaking in Spanish to them. I don't know whether they were from Spain or they were from Mexico. Do you remember that? I think it was after a Christmas ball night out at the TYP or something like that.
Yeah,
and we were outside.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
outside the Globe. Yeah. And I was speaking Spanish to them in the Dublin accent, and I remember you laughing, and that joke between us became common. Like, yeah, hola.
Two Vigos, a key in Dublin. Yeah. J. Don Day Erez. It's funny because it's like in English, obviously, we pronounce every single letter of the word, and it's very like as well. The Dublin accent is very kind of direct. And we both got deep voices, and whereas Spanish is like a finesse, like beautiful, quick talking, fast paced language. So like when I'm speaking it, it's just like it's like a mechanic trying to paint a picture or something. Like it's just so forced.
Yeah, most of them just switch to English straight away. I think when you start speaking to them in Spanish with like an Irish accent, they're like, "Please stop destroying my language." Like, you're stop talking to me.
All right, we'll wrap it up there before it starts getting out of hand. Listen, Owen, thanks so much. I appreciate a lot of your insight. Actually, we focus a bit more on fitness than I thought, which I'm glad we did because there's some good knowledge that you dropped there. Listen, if anyone wants to reach out to you or like connect with you on social media, how can they do so?
So literally on every social media. So LinkedIn, you can find me in Jack's contacts if you found me through him, or Instagram, it's Eoghan_McGarvey. So like anything like that, reach out and just have a chat.
All right, perfect.
Whatever.
I appreciate it, man. Listen,
right, appreciate the time, Jack.
Best wishes with the studies in Spain. I know you're wrapping up now, but how long more are you going to stay in Spain for when you're going back to Ireland?
I think I've spent in the summer, so I probably won't be back in Ireland until September or October.
So the end of the summer,
whenever Trinity starts back.
Yeah.
Might as well, man.
Mate, would you head over to Ibiza?
I probably will if you're heading there, man. To be honest, I
man,
end the summer party or something like that.
Vamos a pasar en buen rato. All right, listen, I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
We're gonna start taking the piss here. But Owen, thanks for listening. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it.